Okay. We on?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Orcas fellow commissioners who aren't from Orcas. Welcome to the land bank meeting, January 20th. Almost the solstice. And
June 20th.
what did I say? June. It's June 20th. Yes.
What did you say?
It's a cloudy day. In any case, I'm gonna call the meeting to order, and as usual, we'll open with public comment. Is anybody on? Yes. Couple of people online. Any comments for the good of the order?
I can't find the hand raising.
Judy has
Be able to,
I didn't do that, did
I can barely hear you guys.
I,
turn it out.
It's,
Turn yourself up.
yeah,
Oh,
I can't turn you up.
I can't turn me up.
Yeah, we can maybe try to push it
All
closer
right.
to you.
I will try to be loud.
Also doesn't help. That's on.
Okay. If there are no comments, we will.
wait, I have a
continue the-
comment. Hello,
Oh, okay. We didn't hear each other. Who? Jennifer.
Jennifer Peach. I don't know if you're, yeah. Hey, you know what? I am at work, so I can't come, for the part I have an interest in later in the
Um,
meeting. I'm wondering if there'll be more information upcoming about the Killebrew Lake potential acquisition. My comment is hopefully the bank will consider that that is the only place on Earth where you can do public hunting of geoduck. And hoping that that opportunity will continue going forward if everything goes through.
Jennifer, you were breaking up. You must be on your cell phone. Okay. Evidently, our land steward, Peter heard you and has an answer.
Well,
Thank you, Peter.
hi Jennifer, very preliminary comment here, but we had a meeting with the state, WDFW, and we're aware of the existing hunting at that property, and our intention would be to continue the deer hunting. If it came to us being involved.
Oh. Okay, great. I'm sorry that I won't be able to hear the questions that you probably are already going to answer. I have to get back to work, but just to voice out, I'm representing a couple of other hunters, and I wanted to make sure that we.
Great. Thanks for your question, Jennifer, and you're welcome to talk further with me or Peter or Lincoln at any time.
Or feel free to email your comments,
Well, I'll wait.
Jennifer,
Sure.
and I'll forward them along.
Oh, perfect. That
Tanya.
sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm back to work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there are no further public comments, we'll go on to comments, questions, and approval of the May 16th minutes. Commissioners, any comments?
Oh, I did have one question. Page 4 at the top, acquisitions, sales for Orcas. It says, Cherry is also donating a conservation easement. Is that a certain thing, or is that, okay? Yeah, it's wonderful news.
An important thing too.
Yeah.
Everybody should really speak up.
Yeah.
Should we turn it off?
So long.
Okay, meanwhile, other questions, comments on the minutes? Okay, I have one. Bottom of page 2, going on to page 3. The subject of the letter that I had proposed writing to, it says here to the federal government. That's not quite right. I think if we were to write a letter to the federal government, it would disappear. The proposal was to write a letter to the county council, and for them to write a letter to to our congressional representatives on the subject of the cuts to funding for the conservation. What am I trying to say? AmeriCorps. Well, yeah, to AmeriCorps and the Conservation District, and particularly the Conservation Corps. That's how that affects us. And that was listed as an action item, and we haven't mentioned it. Any update on?
Yeah, so I started drafting a letter. Unfortunately, I had a trip out of town and I was preceded by family emergency. And so was not able to do it. It would come back to them, to the council on the 15th. However, in the interim, the cuts have been restored, at least theoretically. So I'm not sure that it's relevant right at the moment.
That's good news. Okay. Thank you. Okay, with that, if there are no further comments, approval of the budget?
Minutes.
Minutes.
Of the minutes, yes. Okay. Unanimous consent, thank you. So we will go on to our partner update with the Preservation Trust. We have with us in-person Angela Adams from the trust this morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Angela Anderson, Executive Director of the Preservation Trust, and I'm happy to be here today. Today. A few updates. We have, I know you perhaps heard it along at previous meetings, but we are fully moved in to our new headquarters on 315 Court Street. There's still more work to happen. We've got signage, there's displays planned, and we even have a mural that is going through the permitting process that we're excited to be able to put on the building. We will have, if individuals want to come, please contact me, and we can schedule a tour. We're also planning an event in the fall at the Grange, and that will be like an open house meet for community members to be able to meet with all of our staff and have events. That's coming. We have the summer social planned July 19th. This has been held at the Ellis Preserve. And this is the first time we're back at the Ellis Preserve since 2018. So it's been about 7 years. And that was before it was open to the public. So there's a lot there to see at the Maryland and Fred Ellis Preserve on Shaw. There, we're encouraging people to walk on. We'll have a shuttle available for people to be able to take them back and forth to the preserve. And it's an opportunity to hear more about our stewardship efforts and how we can promote biodiversity and attachments. We'll have a special guest forecast this month. And I have great news on a partner project that we have together with Fraser Homestead Preserve that is owned by the Land Bank, have a conservation easement on it. We have had over 5 years, we've been having a habitat patch there and managing that for the island on marble butterfly. And this is the 5th year in a row that we've had habitation. There have been eggs, that staff count over 82 eggs in the patch, and that's the most that they've ever found. And for a population of 200, 500, pretty substantial. So this is just showing that the work is happening and it's not this great. That's it for me.
And I missed where the location of that spot, the patch is.
So it is at the Fraser Homestead.
Oh, yes, I know. Thank you.
And I guess I take that back, I'm not all finished. I did want to share, there was a pretty historic event that took place here on Monday, between the Lumley and Ida families that came together around renaming of certain sites on West Sound and Corpus. And I was able to participate in that. And one of the properties that we worked together with the land bank on the extension of the Turtleback Edition, and a portion of that property went to the Lumley. It has been renamed, the former name was Howard Point, it has been renamed Tila Beach, which means a lot of strawberries, or places a lot of strawberries. And the folks at that event and leadership from Lumley had shared an interest in working with the community to be able to change certain names along that coast that really pertain to a very traumatic time, history, and bringing back tradition.
Yes. Okay. We'll go on to our council update, and we have with us also in person, council member Jane Fuller this morning.
I'm happy to be at this meeting in person, particularly given it's happening outside of San Juan Island. Today we get to go to visit 2 sites, which is great. So nice to be with you all. I have been, I had to take some unexpected personal leave for a few weeks, so I'm just back and still catching up on some things that took place while I was away. As you're all very aware, something that's ongoing this year that I think is important for all of us to continue to track, and that is the ongoing comprehensive plan updates. I guess I'm bringing this to your attention because we will have a new climate element that I think many of you are aware of. And there has been a lot of activity in the landscape in terms of galvanizing community interest and input on all things climate related in the county, and ensuring inclusion in the comp plan, relevant climate related policies, et cetera, with a view to creating a climate action plan once the comp plan update is completed. What is $300,000 was awarded to the county to enable environmental stewardship to contract consultant to do this work on the climate element as compared to $100,000 being awarded to the county to work on the entire plan. So different order of magnitude. In addition, a couple of entities in the county, including Friends, received a total of $100,000 of grant money through Commerce to do further and deeper engagement with the community on the comp plan, and there's been a strong focus on environment in that community outreach as well. So I'm just bringing this to your attention because the robust effort that's going into this is infusing all elements of the comp plan. And while that's a good thing, it's also challenging because when it comes to all things environment, there are often some things that can butt against realities we face in the future, like availability of water, availability of roads, transportation, so on and so forth. And so I think it's really important, given the preponderance of input coming from the community, from those who are very concerned about environmental issues, that there be a good balance in terms of input from the community as to things we need to plan for in the future. And I'm just I chatted with 2 commission members over here on the ferry on the way over here this morning, and one of those issues is energy and utilities. And so I think council is going to continue to have an important role to play in seeing all the input that comes in, taking stock of it, given things that are on the future horizon in terms of what this county, needs to do, both in terms of environmental protection, conservation, adaptation to climate change and resilience, but also to ensure that, we can live sustainably, and in all aspects of our lives. And so there are national tensions where that's concerned sometimes, and I think I'm just flagging that because I see that as an important focus for our council between now and the end of the year when that plan has to be finalized. And it will be, council will begin to see some revisions to some of those draft elements in the coming months. So, so I want to just call that out, and just ask you all to just keep track of how that plan's important, as we all know, and I think this council is interested in seeing how that comprehensive plan can better guide the local county. Sure, more about that. So, so just putting that out there, for digestion. I was also, I'm gonna mention the event on Monday, and, it can also be anticipated that council will discuss what happened in that event in the forthcoming meeting. Indeed, ceremonially, Councilmember Polson on behalf of council was given a seated box, that contains former names of polling and surrounding areas. And so it does look as if Lonnie would like council to proceed with, making some, recommendations for formal name changes. So, as was the case with changing the name of the Salish Sea, that is something that council will need to have further discussion with the Lummi Nation on, to see that we can, make the necessary contacts with the levels of government, particularly federal, to see that those changes can be made. So yeah, there'll be some movement on that. We want to make sure that though protocol wise, council is pursuing that in the appropriate way. So, there is precedent for doing that, and it's, who knows, maybe there'll be more of that in the country. So I unfortunately had to go back to Lopez mid-afternoon, but it was an incredibly meaningful ceremony for the women in the Haida, and a very historic moment between us, those tribes. So, yeah, and the last thing I will just mention is, which you probably all know as well, we have embarked on the critical area ordinance, update as well, this year. And so I have one last thing that I think you'll be all interested to hear, as part of ongoing staffing, developments in our county as an organization. Last week, there were interviews, for a new DCD director. Some very strong candidates applied, and so I think that, council can expect to hear from our county manager that's recommended for the, position of new DCD director. So, yeah, that's a big deal, with the challenges of that department since it's a human council. But, with the arrival of our new county manager, I think it's a very welcome thing that we're getting some positions filled that are really critical to the efficient, and effective functioning of our county government. So, yeah, just, well, that's my update.
Great, thank you. So Jane, I have one question, and you may or may not know the answer to this. Back in the Rick Hughes, and Jane days, Senator Loveland talked about doing some water studies for the San Juan Islands, and our Department of Water Resources was working with USGS on a water study.
Yeah,
And that study has never been released.
that's right.
And have we gotten it back from USGS?
No.
And are we making any effort to pry it out of their claws?
It's a good question. I last talked to Mark Tompkins about that probably a few months ago, and his department is tracking that, and there hadn't been any further developments. And, so I can check back and.
Well, it seems like for a critical area and also the comp plan, we need to know that.
Absolutely.
Because that's gonna drive a lot of other issues.
For sure. And so, and in fact, there's even more study, further deeper study that needs to be done post that study being done, which I think that, in terms of the water element, I would not be surprised, and I need to check back with Mark and Kyle Dodd to see, and Sophia Kassan, to find out if they've gotten further information. But thank you for raising that, because the last I checked, and this was some months ago, it was last year sometime, that, there had not been growth. But thanks for the.
Anything else?
I have a question. Jen, thanks for your comments on the, on the comp plan. Regarding the subject of energy, where do we find that in the comp plan? Is that in the planning section?
Utilities.
Utilities.
Yeah, yeah, and, you know, and again, I think, yeah, part of the reason I want to raise is, Palco is, for those of you who are tracking our meetings, you're aware of this, but Palco is very concerned about energy policy and and, they have made significant appeals to the county council, including meeting with all of us individually and, submitting a lot of documentation and comments about what needs to be done to ensure we can plan for our energy requirements in the future, and what they are very much looking for the county to do and the council to approve are some policy changes that can flow into regulatory changes that will allow for the siting of some essential electrical infrastructure. And because in their experience in recent years, there isn't anything that allows for the county to create regulatory changes that makes it more feasible to cite the need for electrical infrastructure. So they've made a pretty compelling scientific case that we face challenges. I think one of the challenges of Palco itself has is its community engagement. And, you know, we all just assume that we're gonna have electricity. That is not wise to assume. And I think Palco could and needs to do a better job of community outreach and informing people as to what our potential challenges are in terms of electric supply. Because I think that would change the conversation in terms of, you know, difficult decisions that are gonna need to be made about siting. And so, that's an ongoing conversation between council members and the Boston Progress, for example, and Vince DeCunis at the board. But that is that's an example of what I'm talking about in terms of the tension that arises between what we want to do on the land and what we don't want to do on the land, and why, between different stakeholder interests. And so I think ultimately we all need to keep in mind that we want to live sustainably in this area. We want to preserve and protect our environment, our ecosystems, adapt to climate change, which is real and happening live now, and continue with all of that conservation work, while also keeping in mind the future needs that the resident population that lives here has. And I think I know, based on my short time with this council, we are all concerned about water supply. We are all interested in understanding how do we make sure we don't run into crises with electrical supply. But I also know from my short time with this council that we all very much care about the environment and about being able to adapt to climate change. So I just think the more voices we can hear from about what's important to everybody, the better. Yeah.
Literally into the second question.
Oh,
About the comp plan in general.
Yeah.
What's the road ahead, between now and approval? So in terms of public, executive process.
yeah, good question. So, as I mentioned, it will be, I believe, it's gonna start in sometime July, August, and also into September, when council will receive for a second time drafts of updates to the comp plan elements that will have gone through the planning commission again. Okay, so as we speak, the planning commission is working with staff to review updates that were changes that were recommended to the drafts that went before council in March, April. And so those will be coming back to council. And so the public can have eyes on those drafts that have been changed slightly from what was originally proposed. And there's a consultant that is working with Sophia Kassam with the Department of Community Development to work on those drafts based on public input, based on council input. That consultant's contract ends at the end of this month. So a lot of busy work is going on right now that the planning commission is plugged into. So the next step would be for council to take a look at what changes were made, following the original drafts being put forward to us. So that'll be another moment, right? When the public can and should have input into what do you all think about what's being changed from the original drafts and why and all the rest of it. So that's another moment that's important as we head towards the end of the year is when we're gonna need to finalize.
So there will be public hearings scheduled.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And it won't be final, the work won't be done until later in the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last for the hearing.
Absolutely, yeah. So as always, public hearings are a really important way of ensuring public hearings, but also public comment in written form. Those are really critical ways of ensuring that input is received, so
Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay, if nothing else, commissioners' reports.
Thank you. Okay. Tanya, I want to congratulate you on this. I think you did a great job. It was really.
Really, we should thank the designers. They take what's in here and
Well, it's,
figure it out.
yeah, well, good job. So following along the theme of tribal engagement, the gathering of the Eagles was right after our last land bank meeting. So they came to Lopez right after our last land bank meeting. And we, thanks to Amanda, we offered a tour of Wattle Head. And a number of them did take us up on it, and it was powerful. It was really powerful. They went out to Wattle Fight, and, you know, there was prayer and lots, you know, of feeling and emotion. And then they walked out to Wattle Head, and we did drive some people out, some of the elders out. And again, there was more prayer out there. And as Freddie Lane was saying, so he's Lummi, and he was saying, my ancestors were born here. I mean, were buried out here, and I have never been here. And so it was very charged. And really wonderful. They were so thankful. They were thankful that Wattle Head was preserved, that Wattle Bight is protected, and that they were allowed to come out and really celebrate that. So it was a pleasure for me to be part of that. And yeah, I think that's the main thing. I've just continued to appreciate everything that Amanda's doing. All over Amanda. So, including it was great to see the new signs out of Wattle Head that say, you know, no camping, no fires, because that's one of my concerns with that property. I know I want to add one more thing too. The neighboring property, which was Tex Gila. She passed away, so that land has now gone into her nephew, next generation. And they were all out there, so I thought I'd stop in and say hi. Amanda already knows them. And they just are so thankful that the land bank owns Wattle Head. And then also they have an easement that Tex had donated, I think, on their property. And the way they described it was like, we live on land bank land and we are so thankful. And, you know, in spite of the fact now all of a sudden there's gonna be a lot of people coming and going out there, like, not a problem, just great appreciation. So that was really fun. That's really great to hear. Good, okay.
Well, I have, I guess all I've been doing is taking walks. I've been to, Zylstra, Katy Mountain, West Side, and the Golden Back Trail, and, Third Lagoon day before yesterday. All of which look great, but I'm also, as I was just mentioning to Peter, the grass really is grown, and I'm impressed that our stewards are able to get in when they can and clear out some of those paths, and some of them obviously are they're just still growing. And on Orcas, I've been to North Shore and to Provo for walks, so, and this little is fun. How you doing?
We will take it first.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, well, thanks for all these great places to go, Land Bank.
Yeah, I was able to help set up for our gathering of the Eagles, and it was really a really nice turnout on Orcas, so that was really sweet. And then I got out to Dolphin Bay with Peter, and I think that's just an incredibly beautiful sight, so.
We'll see you later.
Yeah, we'll get to see that a little bit later.
And to kind of piggyback on Peggy's comments, I was able to join the canoe journey and get out to Wapak Head while they were out there. It was very interesting seeing everybody's reactions to the sights because they're fairly spectacular themselves, but there's a deeper feeling when they see it for the first time. In addition to, well, Peggy was able to talk to Tex's family at their home site. There was also a memorial for Tex Geeling, and I was able to meet some of the family for the first time, which it was more of the same, exactly as she described it. They spent a lot of time talking about the land bank. And they have no intentions of changing anything, which was Texas wish also. They want to keep it as it is, and they see the land bank as a way to make that happen. So.
Okay. Commissioners online, anything you'd like to share this morning? Mike or Amy?
Good morning, everybody. This is Amy. Yeah, I've done a couple of hikes on the west side, and every time I'm just so grateful for it. Marilyn continues to be my inspiration for all of her hiking. Like someday. But yeah, other than that, a couple of committee meetings on staff and communications, and I definitely echo Peggy's thanks. We all owe a debt of gratitude to Tanya for overseeing what just really turned out to be a fantastic annual report. So thanks again, Tanya.
Okay. I think I will just add to the tribal theme, which seems to be a thread running pervasively through all of us this morning. Lots of stuff is happening. One thing that hasn't been mentioned is that Peter Fisher, local photographer, who was instrumental not only in starting this land bank, but also helping to return to save Madrona Point from development and return it to the Lummi tribe, has currently a photo exhibit at the Orca Center, and a couple of weeks ago did a talk and discussion about efforts to return the history of Madrona Point, and also future plans to restore Madrona Point by the tribes. So that's happening, and I think is quite hopeful. And then I'll mention that I too was at Monday night's ceremony at the Orca Center, and I have never seen the Orca Center so full. I mean, it was standing room only and at great community turnout. And Peter was there, Amanda was there, Angela was there. I didn't see you, Angela. But it was a very, very moving ceremony. We had 2 Lummi tribal chairs and 4 Haida chiefs came down from Haida Gwaii and sat and talked with everybody and told us about their ceremony of giving back the names and what that meant, and then entertained questions and discussion about it. So my understanding is, as Angela mentioned, that the names were given back to us. The history of the massacre was given back, and the names restored to the original Lummi place names, which they pointed out came from the land, were not put on the land by us, but came from the land, and they are all Lummi names. And since the Lummi are now our neighbors in several places, and I hope that coalition, that coming together can continue and blossom. It was a very, very moving experience.
Yeah.
So. Okay, now we get to talk about the budget. Aaron, you ready?
Yeah, make sure this looks as good as possible.
It's good.
Yeah. All right, so, every, 3 times a year, we have the opportunity to amend, the current budget. We are currently in the second year of the county biennium budget, 24 for 24 and 25. The land bank, we are, supposed to create an annual expenditure and acquisition plan. That is a recommendation to the council for the budget. So you guys approve, make recommendations for the amendment. This gets passed along to the budget team and then ultimately to the council for ratification and acceptance. So at this point, I'm gonna go through some of the amendments for the second or some of the changes to the 2025 budget, the second amendment. We don't have a whole lot to add, but we do have some substantial changes, so, or additions. First off, yeah, this is the most. This will be better. Okay, so first we're gonna look at the conservation area fund here, and I'm sorry for the typo. That should be 1.1 million. This is a grant from Salmon Recovery Fund, RCO, state grant for the acquisition of the Dolphin Bay Road acquisition, also referred to as Cherry. But we are calling it Dolphin Bay Road acquisition for this purpose.
So Aaron, where's the 1.1? Is that right there?
So
in
it's
the
highlighted
support?
in purple. This
Okay.
is the typo. It should be 1.1, but it is somehow in the memo, it's correct, and I didn't get that adjustment on this, so I'll make that change before I send it off to the auditor's office as a final. But that is currently for 1.1. The award is not final at this point. Or we have not received the award letter yet. We're hoping for that sometime in July. There might potentially be a little bit more money there, so it's not finalized. And sometimes within the county's process, the auditor's process, they don't like to add grant revenue unless there's been an award. So there is the chance that the budget team decides to not include this on the second amendment and add it to the third, but yes.
When does this go to council? I'm sorry, I missed that.
The first touch, sorry, off the top of my head, let's see, it's July, or sorry, first or second week in July will be the first touch. There's a 3-touch process. August, first week in August, I believe is. Sorry. The
So
second.
my question really was, will you amend the budget request during the council process if we get that letter affirming the grant?
Yes, we can have it updated at that point if need be. Again, it's also working with the auditor's office. If they choose to pull it, then they choose to pull it and say just wait. It's kind of, it would be more of a request, hey, do you have time to fit this in or not? We are being a little bit, trying to get this on a little bit ahead of schedule. So we'll see, still working with Tara Anderson, who's the grants manager for the county. Seeing if we can work this in and allow it, because normally this is we have to wait to award to put it on, but since this is also part of an acquisition, want to try and have it for the public at the same time.
Yes, thank you.
But we'll see what happens there. So we have a $1.1 million grant. The other revenue would be a sale of land, that 1.28 million. That is for the 2 parcels being sold to National Park Service at Fraser Homestead. Been talking about this for a couple months now, so I think you're all aware and up to speed on that project. We are pretty much confident that that is gonna go through, and we should be good there, so it's ready, we're ready to get that on the budget and show that as revenue. So for the Conservation Area Fund, the total revenue added in this amendment would be 2.38 million. Scroll down, the only expenditure that we have,
So Aaron, I'm sorry. So what, the way I'm reading this is that we are about a little more than 2 million to the good, as by comparison with our original budget estimate. Is that right?
yes, for adding, for additional revenue, yes. but-
12.7 as compared to 10.4.
Right, and then we are adding an expenditure of 3.4 million for the purchase of the Dolphin Bay Road project at 3.4, which is a difference, an ending cash decrease of just over 1 million in total. So with the acquisition cost of 3.4 million and our 2 revenues with the sale of Fraser Homestead parcels, as well as the grant from Salmon Recovery Fund Board, the offset is a decrease in ending cash of just over 1 million.
And do we have a date by which the sale should close of the Fraser Homestead parcels? Do we have a?
I've been expecting that to close this month. And I just sent an email yesterday to the Realty office. I have not gotten a response back yet for today, but I remain hopeful that it will close by the end of the month.
Okay. Seems important. Thank you.
So the ending cash change from the First Amendment to the Second Amendment would take us from just over 4.8 million to just over 3.8 million in the Conservation Area Fund for the year. No changes to administrative costs, no debt service changes at this point. So the only Conservation Area Fund expenditure is the purchase of Dolphin Bay Road acquisition.
Aaron, I had a quick question on the debt service, the interfund loan payment, that's the last one?
Yep, this is the last year of that. And next meeting, we'll have a quarterly report, which we made the final payment. And I'll be able to go over, how that looked over the course of the 3 years, that interfund loan and what it brought back to the stewardship fund in interest. So I'll have those numbers for you in review.
Aaron, I think Lincoln, you and I discussed this the other day. I just wanted to be reminded of how that shortfall of approximately $1 million is to be made up for the acquisition of Dolphin Bay. I can't recall what you said about that.
Well, it's just a fluctuation in cash flow, so we are quite hopeful that we are going to get some external donation for Dolphin Bay.
Yeah.
We also have not yet received the 1.5 million in grant funding for the Watmow head acquisition,
Okay.
which we think we're getting very close to.
I hope so.
Tell me about it.
Been a while.
Yeah.
So is that on Whatnot? I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt. On Whatnot, does that mean that we have been awarded the grant, but we haven't received funding?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's
And-
currently already baked into the budget,
Yeah.
so that will show up as additional revenue that comes
Okay,
as
thank you.
factors.
Just one question, on, the main, page, with the revenue accounts for the conservation fund. The 1% administrative fee to the treasurer,
Yes, that's administrative fee, processing fee that the treasurer's office gets for handling cash transactions.
for us.
Yeah.
So we pay them.
Yeah.
To do that.
It just, we don't pay them, it just comes out as a total when we receive our daily amount or when transactions happen. It's all just baked in there.
Agreed.
So it's ongoing.
Yeah, because our transactions and revenue just comes in when sales are
Oh, I
final
see.
and processed
So it's for everything.
throughout the month, yeah.
So we also pay the county for GIS, right?
Yes,
then
information
it's also
services and
part of-
GIS.
Yeah, so that's where Polaris and all that. And then, so the IT, so there's the two different separate.
Yeah, those are two separate expenditure ones.
I have one other question under, debt service. I do not know the meaning of the word defeasance.
Tim, can you speak
What's
up?
the word? Oh, sorry, under debt service, when you're talking about bonds, there are bonds that have defeasance.
Yeah, I haven't been asked that and I haven't had to really, because most of those debt services, those bonds were handled before I was here and they're handled by the treasurer's office, so naming for those, I'm honestly not
Just
sure.
curious, I will look it up myself.
Yeah, I guess Google it, it's
Yeah.
not something, I just look at, the name of the bond, I don't know if the 2006 defeasance was what it was named before they were, I think we went out, had them, we reworked those bonds
Refund
at
the
some
bonds in
point.
twenty
Yeah,
twelve,
Yes,
yeah,
refunded the
refund,
2006.
yeah,
I think that's what,
yeah.
And the term on those bonds on the 2012s is
Yeah,
years?
2026
2026, okay.
will be the final year for those. The only one that will continue is, the 2016 GO refund planned until 2036, and that is the conservation futures bond.
Okay, and that was for Turtleback.
sure, but
Yeah.
Remembering.
All other bonds will mature,
Next year.
next year, and then next year.
Okay, thank you. That's really good news.
Yeah. And then we can have conversations about bonds going forward. Okay, so,
One second, I wanted to finish my response to Jane.
okay,
About the Cherry property. We'll also be, getting a waiver of retroactivity on that property, which will allow us to reapply for ALEA funds, which we didn't get because the governor's budget this time around. And also water access, and, Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program. So no guarantee on those, but another opportunity.
Thank you.
So I have a general question about like ALEA funds and all that, the state funding that we might have access to. How much of that is tied to this?
So the categories we're competitive in, aquatic lands enhancement account, comes from a DNR leasing revenue, UDA revenue primarily.
Yeah.
So that should be unaffected. The question is how much is going to be in the budget? So this time around, it was, I think, half of the total amount that was requested. In years past, they funded all the projects, so, never know. The water access category for Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program, that too is state funded, so that's come through the capital budget. They just, in this cycle, made $120 million contribution for WWRP projects. That's always kind of going backward. So when you apply, you have to accept the fact that you're going to be waiting for a couple of years before you might see them.
and it's surfboard. That's more reliant.
Surfboard, I'm not clear on the federal contribution to surfboard or the other center recovery county. And I'd have to get that.
And were they, it sounded like the state might be using some of the GUI duck money for staffing. Is that?
Yeah, it was a very, very tight budget year, and so, there were lots of cuts made in all of the agencies. And, yes, I'm sure that some of that funding was diverted for DNR operations.
But the state budget is final now,
Yes.
correct? We just don't know exactly all the details.
Well, no, we've got all the details. And we know, in the case of that Aaliyah grant, we did not get the money. That's not going to happen. There's a slight chance of all of the other projects on the list. I think we need 4 or 5 projects to not be able to make a match, and they've worked their way down to us. That seems like a very, very remote possibility. So I think we're better off reapplying it in 2026 is the next cycle for WWRP and for salmon recovery, we always seem to come up with some projects annually, so we'll see what's coming around this time.
It sounds like the governor's gonna be on Orcas, on July 13th. And I wonder if, we would wanna do some outreach to show him the Dolphin Bay parcel. Or do we ever do things like that?
Is he only gonna be on work?
I don't know. I just know that there's a, I don't know if we do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we've certainly done that in the past.
I mean, we did it with Representative Larson.
We've done it with Representative Larson. We had Jay Inslee up at Mount Grant. And I'm sure there are other examples too. So that's a possibility. I mean, it is on the way to the ferry landing.
Yes, that's a good
So,
point. And the Killebrew Road construction will be underway.
So maybe we can propose it to his schedulers.
Well, I'm gonna toss that to Jane. Cause she's looking at something else,
I was reading about the Orcas terminal. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, carry on.
Yeah, we're talking about the possibility of the governor stopping by the Dolphin Bay Road acquisition when he's here on the 13th of July.
Yeah, he's here on the 14th, Monday the 14th.
Oh, he is?
Yeah,
I
that's.
think he's here,
for
he's
personal
on
reasons.
Orcas, doing some kind of fundraising event,
Right.
probably, and then
Right.
the formal gubernatorial duty part of the trip will be Monday.
Correct. So I can't speak to what he would be doing on Sunday the 13th. I would encourage you, if there's an interest in having any of his time on the 13th, that you reach out to his Northwest Regional Rep, Jeremy Harrison Smith. I can speak to the Monday the 14th though, and that day will be fully booked. So there won't be any time for him to do. So if, I'm not sure though, what else he's doing, just.
And I'm sure we'll have another opportunity.
Okay, gotcha. I just thought.
Be a good idea. Try Sunday.
I had a meeting with, Eva of Friends and also Lowell, on Wednesday, and I know that they are quite keen, to find another time to get the governor out here, for some things, probably concurrent with land bank things as well, you know, giving him some exposure to the county from a different perspective. This visit is very, very related. I think though that it's a very good idea to try to appeal to his Northwest Regional Rep, Jeremy, to try and get him to come out on other things, not very. So, cause we're gonna need to build that relationship in terms of what our efforts, all of our efforts here, when it comes to, conservation, climate impacts, everything like that. So Friends is quite keen, to work that angle. Just maybe keep in touch with them as to ongoing conversations with his office about getting home again at that time.
I think that's a good suggestion. I'd suggest that we invite him if he has time on Sunday.
Yeah,
And even if he doesn't, it's on his agenda for next time.
yeah, right. Lock in a commitment to come back. Hopefully within the next 6 months or so.
Great. Okay, I think it's back to Aaron.
All right, so for the stewardship management maintenance fund, for the second amendment, we do not have any changes to revenue. The only changes to the stewardship management maintenance fund, all administrative and county administrative related. Things that we don't really have a lot of control of. One, just, that administrative adjustment of $87 to facility services, and that's just payroll. We pay a portion of overhead for facilities needs. All departments pay that. That was just $87 there. And then the only the real update to stewardship management maintenance fund is for motor pool or fleet or, vehicle and equipment leases with the county. This is just administrative in the sense that motor pool got behind on their billing by a quarter. So they were operating 1 quarter behind, and the auditor's office wanted them to get their billing current so that they're billing for each quarter within that fiscal year. So in order to do that, each department is paying an additional quarterly payment for the year. So that's what this adjustment is for all 3 districts, San Juan Island, Orcas, and Lopez. This is the same rate that they have been operating for years. So it's just an additional quarterly payment that's getting attached that'll make more current.
And then we go back to our existing schedule.
Right. Yep. So for 2025, this will get everyone caught up, and then there might be some changes for for the next biennium budget, but none of that is particularly clear and nothing that I can really report on yet. So I have a better idea of what it's going to look like, but there will be, I'm sure there'll be changes on the biennium, but we're not there yet.
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
So between the two funds, between information services, GIS, between conservation and stewardship, we pay about 100,000 to the state, to the county for the services.
Yep.
And then we also have professional services that you work with, right, on.
The designer.
Yeah, and
Website.
somebody
The
else doing the
website stuff.
website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
Okay, we are beginning to run a little bit behind. This is a public hearing and an action item for adoption of this biannual budget. So, and it's supposed to be a public hearing. So I will now open the public hearing for the public, as well as entertain at the same time comments and discussion from commissioners, if there's any more.
Well, I've already made my comment, but I'll just make it again. I'm so conservative. I really like to know that the money's in the bank, and in 2 cases here that we're depending on, the money's not in the bank. But we're expecting it. It's the sale of land, I think, that has me most concerned. So, I'm assuming that we could approve this, send it to council, and during the 3-touch process, we will know more and we can update our request at that point. Thank you.
We will know more about grants and also possibly about partnership contributions for the acquisition of the Cherry property.
Is that something we're actively working on now?
Yes. Okay. Any more discussion from commissioners? Mike,
He was just mentioning.
I would just scratch his head.
okay. Comments from the public?
Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion of approval.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the budget is approved. Thank you. We are running late, but Aaron, I understood that we were gonna have some more conversation on feedback on the budget guidelines.
Yeah, the comments period was open through the 15th, that was set up. Got comments from Brian, but that was about it, that was it. And then we do have our subcommittee that has Anne Marie, Marilyn, Lincoln, and myself. We now need to schedule a date to meet, to not only talk about guidelines, but also about how our finances are displayed to the public. I do want to comment, or, make a comment to what I did receive from Brian about the, appendix and including a flow chart for the budget process. I think that's a great idea. And, I will include that.
Great.
And when we have our meeting, with the subcommittee, I'll have that prepared for them to review. We'll discuss it and that make it, I'll get that created as a starting point and add that to the appendix along with how the funds operate and work together. So, and that was made by Anne Marie, last meeting to add that kind of preemptively. So I'll count that as a comment. That's 2 comments. Count it double. So other than that, that's where we're sitting right now. So I think after this meeting, we'll just get together and find a time to meet prior, sometime in the next couple of weeks. And then, if the commission would like, along with the quarterly report, we can review the guidelines as a final, if we're at that stage or not.
Well, I just want to clarify with you that my understanding is that our current project is to get down in black and white how we are handling our finances at this point in time.
Right.
But our second project, which I'm very interested in, is to create a different scenario that reflects both commissioners and perhaps public's need to, or ability to clearly understand
Yes,
our finances. Okay.
correct.
And as part of that process, perhaps we can send some homework out to the commissioners to
Yeah, that'd
give
be
us
great.
some ideas, but, I have availability in the next couple of weeks. I know Anne Marie is gonna be away in July, so.
Yeah, we'll have to communicate separately. I'm gone the first week and the last week of July, so sometime in the middle. Yeah. But we'll get together on that and definitely try
Better
and
get on it.
be in there.
All right, so I understand that the committee is meeting to further discuss that before we have a commission discussion again. Can we put that on the agenda for next month's meeting?
Yes.
Anne Marie won't be here, but we could have our committee meeting beforehand, so she
Good,
would be able to
okay.
participate in that.
And I will just say that, for my part of it, as you know, Aaron, I didn't really have a lot of comments on the guidelines. My view is that in taking some of the cue from Maryland, it's really about understanding and being clear about the budget. And the way I see it, and some may disagree, there are kind of 2 levels of that. One is for us commissioners to understand it, because it's our responsibility. The other is to communicate it to the public. And I think I sent you more comments about the second one.
Right.
About the way it was communicated in the annual report, which was better, but still not there as I saw it. So that's what I'd like to discuss next month.
Yeah, I just wanted to compartmentalize the 2.
Yeah.
Because they were 2 separate things and,
Right.
Just in terms of steps, I wanted to acknowledge the item that had a deadline, which was the guidelines and your comment there. And then with our further discussion with the subcommittee, addressing your second string of comments. Because that is relevant to what you were saying, Maryland's point of view was.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we are up to the director's report. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna start with acquisitions. We've heard a bit about the Dolphin Bay Road acquisition that's now in the budget that will go to council. We do have a signed purchase and sale agreement. So that one is moving forward. I don't think I have anything more to say. I do hope to have some really good news to report on contributions, private contributions to that project before too long. The Cascade Creek acquisition, this is one which was initiated by the Preservation Trust next to Coho Preserve. We're gonna stop by here later today to see across the creek to look at the property. That's moving forward. This is a riparian project for salmon recovery, so we're anticipating it's going to be close to 100% covered by the grant, which is unusual. Usually there's a matting. But we've got a lot of steps to go through. The final application is due on the 23rd. We just got it in yesterday or the day before, so we're good to go and hopeful. It's this one's a little bit fuzzier because it's not purchasing an actual parcel of property. It's purchasing a portion of a parcel, which we're allowed to do by exempt segregation. So we'll be surveying that and basically adding that to Coho Preserve, but that's going forward. I'm not expecting that one to close until next maybe March, so it'll be 2026. By contrast, Dolphin Bay Road, I am expecting to close by the end of August.
Oh,
Fast track.
Yes.
End of August, it has been on fast track.
Does that mean we can't be public in term about Cascade Creek?
We can't be public
We
about it.
can't announce it to the public.
No, I think it's already out. Cat is already out. In fact,
All
we
right.
talked about this at previous commission meetings. So I think that one's pretty clear. We don't yet have a purchase and sale agreement, but we do have an agreement and a price for the purchase. Okay, so we talked about the Fraser Homestead Preserve. I just got an email. Sorry, it looks like the end of July. But it is going forward. They've asked us to cover closing costs up front. They will reimburse us for closing this, or signals of good things
Yeah,
happening.
that's good. This is good.
So that one's moving, and
Staff are still employed.
staff are still employed, still responsive.
Yeah.
So everything is rolling along. The DNR School Trust Land acquisition. That one's going to, we have all of the paperwork for this. All I need is for council to do a resolution accepting the deed. So that's sitting in the PA's office. And I'm expecting to bring that to council on July 15th. So that one should be happening. My goal for that acquisition of the 225 acres on the east side of Blakely, which is the last school trust land in the county, save maybe one little piece, which they told me about.
Where's that?
The one little piece is also on Blakely. It's a 7-acre parcel. I haven't gotten confirmation that that's still in school trust land, but everything else has been dealt with. So my hope is to really celebrate that because there have been a lot of agencies who have been involved in conserving these properties. They're talking about 2,450 acres total. So they have in school trust land, and we will have conserved 2,410. There was one 40-acre parcel on Lopez, just near Shark Reef, which was another parcel that was conserved, but on that road was sold into private ownership. But everything else has been conserved.
And a lot of agencies have played a key role here. State Parks has purchased a lot of it. National Park has taken a lot, county parks, us. I think that's it. But I've been thinking this would be a great Public Lands Day event, particularly if we could get the Commissioner of State Lands out here and these other agency folks just to celebrate the fact that you've done all this.
And that could, something the governor could also be
Right.
given a heads up on.
Yep.
Because I don't know if any of you saw this, I actually saw it, stumbled on it on Facebook, but there's this petition that his office has put around about save our public lands, and I don't know if maybe you've seen it, but, and then he was declaring that, June 21st would be Public Lands Day, I think is what he said, so it was so anyway, if you're looking to have the commissioner come out, you could also give the governor's office a heads up.
Yeah, for sure.
June 21st tomorrow. Oh.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, so I just saw this yesterday. Yeah. They've known each other. See if I can-
All right, so then we have a slew of things that came our way this week. And we don't really know the true status of these properties, but we were approached by the Department of Fish and Wildlife to talk about, this is State Department of Fish and Wildlife, to talk about their properties in the islands. And what they might be able to transfer to us or some other public agency. I think nonprofits are also eligible, so I've been encouraging them to give all of these to the Preservation Trust. No, sorry. We'll probably be having a conversation. So you can see that the properties listed here. I'm not going to go through this in detail. One thing that we don't have from them is that we need a list of what the requirements would be if we were to agree to take any of these properties. And that depends on how they were purchased, where the money came from to purchase the properties, and whether there were requirements. For example, we heard earlier about hunting in Killaboo Lake. That may very well be one of the requirements they see to keep in place. And then some of these other ones are boat ramps where people are going fishing. We'll come back to this, but pretty intriguing. I mean, Killaboo Lake obviously is a big 185 acres. On San Juan, the Egg Lake is a portion of that lake. The Sportsman's Lake one is really a boat ramp, a little pie slice that I would put that at the bottom of our list. Honestly, it's just not really what we do.
Is that adjacent to Preservation Trust?
It's, and I'm pretty sure the Preservation Trust would love to have that adjacent property. That's one we need to talk about. My inclination was that they probably would not want to have that property either, but it is adjacent to their.
Does Killaboo Lake also have a cabin that belongs to WDFW?
There is a cabin that was mentioned, or it's gone now. Yeah, they had one which they had staff stay in annually or something like that.
That's what I'm saying.
So the other one's Hummel Lake, adjacent to our Hummel Lake Preserve, and with the main entry point. Humphrey Head is a little 5-acre pie slice where you go into the Locust ferry terminal, and if you look to the left, you see the white. It's a cormorant rookery that is actually on that property. The Fisherman Bay Tombolo is an easy one. It's a very, very small 0.2-acre one, but it also includes a significant amount of tidelands on the Fisherman Bay side. It's adjacent to our property. I think it's between, do we own both sides of it?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so we're already basically managing it. There's no boat ramp or anything, so that one would be quite easy. The other ones, we'll just have to hear back from what the requirements are, and then of course, the commission will need to talk about you know, what we're really interested in doing and whether it fits with our mandate. Also, I brought in Brandon Andrews from County Parks because they may be interested. Yes, we'll talk to the Preservation Trust as well, so if there's anything they might want to participate in.
So Hummel Lake, my understanding of Hummel Lake, there's a lot of little slices of ownership out there, would it mostly be where people are fishing?
It's, so this one, the slices, we own a lot of the slices of ownership, on the eastern side of it.
Right.
This is the western side, it's more of a rectangular shape, more or less, and then there's some angles that stick off, but it is, yes, that main entry point and a big chunk of, lake.
Looking at that list, it appears that a lot of those properties are tidal or riparian, wetlands. I'm guessing that some of them have dams on them. I know at least one has a culvert. So I think we want to be cautious about, possible flooding and, liability.
Another thing about Hummel Lake is water rights. Somebody, a farmer on has water rights, so
Okay.
monitoring that could be, has been pretty tricky. Dwight. For James.
Yeah, there's one.
Or are we anticipating any of the national public lands agencies to, be approaching us to
No.
do? Like BLM?
Not
Only to sell.
Just as,
We've heard no indication of that. Okay. Any other questions on acquisitions?
Just a correction, it's Trails Day that the governor has declared on June 1st. Trails Day. This petition tomorrow.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, get your hiking boots
Check
out.
for us.
Okay.
Just so
It's
you know.
out there, yeah.
Great.
Uh-huh.
We've got a trail to celebrate.
Okay, my second and last item is about the discussions we've been having at overstaffing and organizational structure. We did do a survey of the staff. I have a consultant who's volunteering his time, and we have the numbers back. We'll be having a discussion of the results of the survey at our next staff meeting, which is, I think, the 10th of July. So I'll be talking to those of you on that subcommittee before then, but that's kind of the next step.
Okay.
We know that.
Yes.
we're ahead of schedule.
We are ahead of schedule. Yeah, so let's take a break. 15 minutes. Let's come back at 10:15. All right, let's reconvene and we'll have the stewardship report. And we have two stewards present.
Yeah, I'll do a quick update for Lopez. I was trying to think if there's anything to share that wasn't in the stewardship report. Just super happy and grateful to have Claire's help. She's just really jumped right in and doing a great job. One thing I followed up on, maybe after the stewardship report went out, was our buoys down at Watmow. I made a comment about one of them got damaged, but it was relocated and the mooring company is gonna reinstall it. And it also reminded me that we submitted an application to renew our buoy permit with DNR, because it expired. And I was able to talk to them. I actually got a phone call in and they called me right back. And so they have our application, and he said, you know, for the time being, we're considered a month-to-month tenant, since we don't owe any fees, because we provide them for free recreational use. that's just their status for the time being. And it might take a while before they actually like approve our renewal application, even though it's straightforward, so. They're still there, they're being maintained, and we'll keep working on it.
Was the one that was damaged, did somebody cut it? Or-
Yes.
Well, who on that?
Kind of, I accidentally, probably with a prop is what, Claire thought, but it had been tied up somewhere on the shoreline, so they thought that maybe the person who accidentally cut it, like, secured it somewhere. Or somebody found it, set it aside for us. It's unfortunate.
You're talking about the buoy, but how did they find the anchor?
Oh, they're.
Oh, it was hopefully cut above the midline float.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the anchor should still be there. They haven't done their dive on it.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were saying. They found that. Okay, thanks, Amanda. Peter?
I just wanted to give a very brief update on the Crescent Beach forest thinning project. Go ahead to the next slide. So as you all recall, we've been planning this project for over a year now. We had a couple of public meetings last June, one in here and one in the field. Got some public feedback on that. We're able to incorporate feedback, and we've been since working with DNR. Go ahead. Everybody here knows where Crescent Beach is. So we've been working with DNR. DNR is the funder of this project. They applied for and received funds from the federal government. And we've been, over the last year, refining the plans. And this is the final project map. So the areas in black are the work areas. They total about 32 acres. Aaron Halcom and I are co-managing this project, and just last week, Rain Shadow Consulting was selected as a contractor out of 9 companies. There was up to $240,000 available. The bid came in at 148, and I mentioned it's total of 32 acres. We had the forest assessment that was done in 2022, I think, identified a larger area of about 70 acres. And when you overlay the wetlands and the stream and various other constraints, and also the condition of the forest, came up with 32 acres of treatment area. So we're focusing on small diameter conifers. So this is a shaded fuel break along the trail, which extends about 30 feet either side of the trail. And that gets treated fairly aggressively, grinding down the shrubs and removing some of the trees. Not all the trees, just small crowded conifers. And then in the other units, it's a mix of selective thinning. And in this area, which was an old orchard, we're gonna use a technique called mastication, where they just basically grind down the vegetation, which is almost all non-native, much of it invasive. And then we'll do some replanting in that area. So we're going to start September 28th, which is, kind of very busy time of the year. No, September 28th. No, July. Why does that say September 28th?
That would be good.
Typo on my part. No, September 28th is when I would like to have started this project. Now we're going to start in July 28th, which is a very busy time on the trails. So we had a meeting this week with the contractor, and they need up to 6 weeks to do the project. So we're going to do a preserved closure. The trail, the beach parking lots will remain open, but the trail will be closed potentially entirely for up to 6 weeks. We're going to work closely with them to see if we can open it, periodically during the project, weekends, if it's safe, not too crazy. But that's probably, maybe that's going to be the most controversial thing here. So we're going to host a field tour before the project for anyone interested. And I've been communicating with a few members of the public that I know walk there every day almost. And so far, people have been understanding about it. And, it's very needed. You probably heard there was a fire on the west side of Orcas in June. you know, a little campfire that got away. The fire risk is fairly high in these work areas, and there'll be safety equipment during the work and potential shutdowns as needed if the conditions aren't good. But in the long term, it's going to really help reduce fire risk through the area. That's it. And, oh yeah, I was gonna mention while I have you here, so other things happening on Orcas this summer, we've got the Judd Cove Shoreline Restoration Project, which I mentioned previously. And that's starting in early September, pending, final confirmation of that date with the contractor. That's a grant funded project. And it's gonna remove all the rock wall remaining along the shoreline there. The Friends is leading and paying for a project at East Sound Waterfront Park, removing that concrete cistern and all the associated concrete with that. Mid-September, and then in late September, we have a project at South Turtleback to basically rebuild that existing parking lot to just gain some additional capacity within that footprint and just make it easier to get in and out. It's a very awkward parking lot. So,
Peter,
yes.
let's stay open during its construction.
Turtleback? Turtleback south entrance will be open. We're gonna have to close, north entrance will be open. We'll have to close the south entrance. It's gonna be, there'll be no place to park, and, it shouldn't be long. And we'll do a press release for that in advance, once we figure out the time, but that should just be, a week-ish. And, again, not ideal timing, but you have to work when you can work, and contractor available.
Peter, they can't park in the field.
How would they get to the trail? I mean, we're going to have to close that. It's just, it'll be chaotic. And thanks to Tanya for getting out a press release for the Crescent Beach project. It doesn't appear to have showed up in the Orcasonian yet. Check in on that, but I'm expecting a lot of interest in that project.
Yeah,
Positive interest.
Peter, I had a couple, well, just a comment. Two of my neighbors who have gotten DNR grants for thinning, I guess you would call it. And they've both done them extensively on pieces in different ways. One of them masticated everything. It was really shocking because it was thick. Then they left all the debris there. The other one did it by hand, and they cleared any speck of debris out. And so it will be I was gonna bring pictures for you, just to get an idea. The sanitized one, really scares me a little bit, and the other one looks terrible at the moment, but it may turn out to be okay.
Yeah, the outcomes of these projects vary widely. One of the contractors that bid on the project did a site walk with me, and he was proposing to do the whole project in a week and to leave it spick and span. He showed me photos, and it would have just been basically completely denuded, and he would have been very happy with that outcome. We're looking for a very different outcome. It's the treatment methods are gonna vary within the project area, but, we're looking for minimal soil disturbance, kind of a finished look. We're gonna follow up with extensive planting in the understory. I mean, the understory of that preserve, or it's either blank, like nothing, just bare ground because it's so dense, or it's pretty good. And we're pretty good, but not diverse. So we're gonna reintroduce a lot of the missing understory species through planting. And there's no getting around that initial disturbance. It's just a matter of degree. We're gonna work hard to minimize it and try to cover it quickly. And in the long run, it's gonna be much better for us.
Well, it's so nice to hear about a project that's planned.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been kind of a long time coming, but excited about it.
Great, thank you, Peter. I see Eliza is online. Anything to share, Eliza?
Yeah, hi. I'll put my face up here too. There we go. Yeah, just very briefly, yesterday was our third Thursday of the month at the Salish Seeds Project, where we have, in the morning, it's volunteer day every month on the third Thursday. And just wanted to reflect on that because we've had good turnout this year. We don't always, it varies from no one to, 7 or 8 people, although we've been real steady this year with good turnout. But I just wanted to reflect on how, while this project, the purpose is to produce plants and seeds for habitat restoration on not just land bank property, but San Juan Preservation Trust and a variety of partners. But it's grown to have this real community component. And even though we only have volunteers once a month, it's sort of become this, we've kind of helped develop this network of native plant enthusiasts who come to help, but also come to learn and share information. People get to know each other, and it feels like it's at a sort of community level helping build some, restoration projects at a very, small personal level. Plus, it's a lot of fun. So I just wanted to mention that as a really nice, small, kind of unexpected benefit of this project, which is going into its 10th or 11th year, I think. We've had a few setbacks this year, a few crops, plants that are usually really easy to grow have been challenging for us. I think, well, there's always surprises, but also had some good new successes. And that's all I wanted to say, just sort of a 10-year report on still going strong.
Thank you, Eliza. It's great to hear that you're bringing us a whole new native plant constituency. So good news, thanks. Okay, commissioners, any questions, comments?
So I have,
Friday.
yeah, I have a report.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes, from
Sounds
District
good,
1.
because I have questions on that.
Doug is taking a well-deserved boat trip this weekend. So we did have some really good news in terms of the Beaverton Trail project, which is, as you know, complicated and outside of our experience to work with WashDOT, but we have now crossed the first important threshold, which is we've been approved for funding to hire a consultant. So this is the checklist that you go through. It's 10 pages.
Yeah.
We're at the bottom of page 1. So, but that's a great first step, or it's not a first step, great 25th step or whatever it is. But a big landmark in this. So we'll be sending out a request for qualifications and then putting together a selection committee. I asked Jessica yesterday whether she or Hillary wanted to be on that. She said, well, just get it set up and one of us will be there. So hopefully we'll be having that committee meeting I think in a month or so, something like that. Depends on how long the advertising goes for.
Good news. I thought I was reading from the stewardship report that we weren't going to be allowed to do that. I know, Lord, that's going to be. So
yeah, no, we're
glad to hear.
This is a big accomplishment. One of the things I did talk to Jessica about too was the possibility of a temporary hire for someone to really continue to run through these steps, since it's really 80% of Doug's time. So she's finding that we can get it covered out of the funds available for the project. So we'll see if that comes together. We may not be able to find anyone to hire, but we're going to carry this forward as best we can. And everyone should realize that we're still in this situation where there's a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of questions still unanswered. So this is not a sure thing by any means, but this is great news for that.
So is this federal funding?
Yes, this
Okay,
was secured by Representative
gotcha.
Larson.
So
This is the trail that was originally slated to go from town to Silstra. That did not work out, but this going through the Beaverton Marsh Preserve has been agreed to, and, we're just cranking forward.
What kind of time frame? Like, once we start, does it have to be done by a certain time?
The funds have to be committed by September of 2026. The project end date is 2031. So it's really getting the design consultants going, coming to agreement on a design. That's maybe a major step in having someone engaged to do the actual work, or the various pieces of that work. So that contract will have to be let by September of next.
And I'm just gonna say, sort of from council perspective, this is a really, really good deal. It's a huge weight lifted that this project could be found and funded with this congressional earmark, because we were on the verge of looking very bad as a county in the eyes of that congressman and possibly having to give up the earmark, which is not something we want to do. We did, what didn't materialize in terms of what was originally conceived. There was a lesson learned, I think, for the county in terms of how you need to really conceive something more deeply and thoughtfully prior to asking for federal money in the form of an earmark. So I think a lot of lessons here, but this is a really, really good news story, and it's amazing that we're able to do such a project with these funds. So it's built back some of our credibility at the representative's office, but also it's a heavy lift. Sounds like there'll be a lot of learning along the way, but ultimately it'll be really nice to bring this benefit to, it's a big deal. How many miles?
Total miles, off the top of my head, I'm gonna say, maybe 1.3, something like that.
How much of that is boardwalk?
Probably about 250 yards of boardwalk across the line. That will be the major construction challenge. Yeah.
But it's an extension of existing trail, right?
It is. So we've got trails on both sides of the preserve, but this will connect those two, and we'll have to do trail improvements to bring them up to the standards of the grant. So that's one of the wrestling components that we still have yet to go through, what this actually is going to look like.
Gotcha. Thank you.
That's it.
I had a question on something else that was in the report, which is the Limekiln project, the DFW. I hope it's a DFW project to get rid of the Northern Pike, which we haven't heard about in some time, which may be good. So it sounds like DFW is definitely taking the lead on that.
They are.
Right? Good. We're in the background somewhere.
Yes, we're in the background. They are planning to hold a public meeting in August toward the end of the month. We are beginning to take water out of the lake as part of this process. DFW definitely is leaning toward using rotenone, which is a pesticide, to ensure that the pike are done.
I did a double take on that.
However, that is not without controversy. So it will be up to DFW to explain that to people, and we'll do our best to minimize the collateral damage and get that preserved healthy again.
Yeah. And they're not draining the lake completely, are they?
Yeah, it's not possible. We're gonna take out as much water as we can between now and then. So there'll be a lot less area that's actually affected. And it does dissipate, rotenone dissipates quickly, so.
What are you doing with the water you're taking out?
It's going downstream.
So you're just pumping out down into Devon Bay or,
Opening the valve, yeah. We've
well,
got-
that's the dam.
Yeah, right.
If they use root melon, we have a lot of dead fish floating in the pond. It's not gonna be pretty, so I I think we want to be in the background on that one.
Great.
Do you know if, saving amphibians or repopulating the pond is part of the plan?
We're still going back and forth with them over components of the plan, but that's something that we've asked about. Also, cleanup is something that we've asked about. So, I don't know, but
Hopefully at that time, most of the amphibians have already gone through metamorphosis. and
Right.
Moved on, but
right.
they should be out. They're out probably already pretty soon.
We have moose year round and salamanders year round in
Yeah.
a couple of little ponds.
Yeah, there will be some salmon.
Cool.
So in this process, the county doesn't have a say in terms of what the does.
No. No, this is one of their highest priority invasive species. They have an estate, obviously, if pike got into some of the river systems, where we have salmon runs, it would be utterly devastating, so that, extremely motivated to try to deal with the problem. And the issue is, if these pike got, someone brought them, put them in this pond. So someone could easily take them from this pond and put them somewhere else. They could take them over to Skagit. So that it needs to be done.
Where's Hillstrom?
We have done eDNA testing of the lakes around the island and have not come up with any hits for pike, but that's not a perfect tool by any means.
Good opportunity for public education about that issue anyway. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Tanya, outreach.
Outreach, let's see, so what, aside from the stewardship report, I remember, the communication committee met and we had a quick debrief about community conversations. You know, I think we had a total of 5 people, maybe 3, definitely 3 in person, I think 2 to 3 online. Perhaps it was the first nice evening of the spring. We didn't have quite a lot of real big pull yet because it was early on. Thoughts being that fall will be better, you know, more will happen, we'll have a lot more to talk about. But really, if it's something we want to continue doing twice a year, or do we need to continue committing to twice a year, or really specifically, it's when there's updates. So that's something we'll talk about more and something the commission can think on. We have a volunteer group coming that will do, they asked for work while they're here. So on Lopez, they'll help help YCC after the 4th of July fireworks and clean those up along the Tombolo. And then I think they're gonna do a Himalayan blackberry pull on the west side on San Juan Island. We have, I can't read my notes because my glasses are old because I broke the other one. July, I've got dates now for Art on the Preserve for San Juan Island. They will do 3 Sundays in July. So we'll be at the west side, Zylstra Lake, and Mount Grant. And this coming Monday is my first Mullis Center, Senior Center on San Juan Island with the Mullis Center. Last summer I started walks with them monthly, we'll do it again. So we'll be out at King Sisters Preserve, and then we're gonna travel to Lopez as well in July and go Spitz. And I've been talking with Anne Marie, she's helped me connect me with the Orcas seniors here. So hopefully they're very interested in doing similar walks. We'll avoid Crescent Beach in July. And then planning for county fair, and I still need to finish up the Q2 newsletter. I took some time off, my niece is visiting, and also I need to ask all of you to think about, we need to figure out the fall schedule, traveling again to Lopez and Orcas. I think traditionally, we do November and October, Lopez and Orcas. We gotta wait for the summer schedule to go away and then wait for fall, for winter, fall. Go before winter and after summer, so, and if that's easier, I can send it out in an email for choices. And so close on the website, so close.
Why are you taking them to King Sisters?
Why? Because it's, the King Sisters Preserve, because it's a place they've never been, so they'll just walk the trail. So you start over by Animal Inn at, off of Wolf, and then we'll walk towards Silstra, and then they'll get picked up down there. It's about a mile, and that's about what they're comfortable with, anywhere between 1 to 2, but nice and easy.
The lessee is kind of taking care of things.
Yeah. I mean, we take care of the trail, and we have a great volunteer who mows it every summer, so it'll be nice. Yeah. It's not a place people go. I gave her many options, and that seemed like a good one. They did Zylstra last year. We did the Dragonfly Trail. No, not, we're doing that one this year. We did the one off Lindy, Red Tail, and I can't remember the other one. They just wanted, yeah, some new ones. There's only so many that aren't too hilly.
It's the volunteer group that's coming.
Trinity Lutheran out of California. I think, no. Trinity Lutheran, I know that much. I don't know
They
where California.
volunteered before.
Yeah, they have. They remembered what a great opportunity or what a great time they had, and they requested to come back. So there's a youth group with some parents, but it sounds like more like parents with some youth. Yeah.
Tanya, two things, a question and a comment. Question is, what are we doing to recruit, local talent and expertise for presentations? And so you don't have to do it all. And I'm thinking about things like Kim Middlefield's, bird walk that we had, Middleton's bird walk that we had here earlier in the year, or other kind of local wildlife or other historical experts that we've had in the past.
Well, I have those regular contacts. I mean, they're all willing to come back. But if you know of somebody, feel free, or if anyone knows of someone you want to suggest, send them my way and I can, you know, or connect me to them and talk to them. Drew's more than willing to come back. Harville for low tide, that's out of Friday Harbor Labs. You know, I try to talk people into traveling to the other islands, but most people don't want to deal with the ferry. So I need, you know, the local to connect. So that's why it's helpful with Anne Marie, you know, putting me up with the seniors, but.
Boyd Pratt is somebody that we've had in the past before too,
Yeah.
for lime kilns and stuff. So just a thought that, you know, we should try to recruit those folks.
We do.
We're working on an apple orchard event at North Shore on October 11th with Madrona Murphy from Quia and Marguerite Greening, local. There's an example. Next.
Good.
And the garden club's gonna like do a pruning with, so they can watch Marguerite do the.
Garden
pruning
club's
stuff.
gonna come along, yeah.
That's good. Okay. And the comment was, I've forgotten the comment.
Good job.
Good job.
No hands on the screen, so I guess my portion's over.
Okay, thank you. And that means our portion is almost over. We just have, future agenda items. Peggy,
Well, I just want to, make sure that the tribal relation opportunity stays on there. I think, Frankie
Yeah.
did a good job, but I think we have a long ways to go, and we've heard a lot just this meeting about several different things that have been happening, but I'd like to be really proactive about that, just as much as we can.
we are following the county's lead on that. Yeah. So I think for next time, we do have a future agenda item, substantial discussion on the budget guidelines. The rest will follow. Thank you.
One more thing,
Pardon me?
because I was just looking at Angela, so we were gonna have a joint meeting between some of us and some of you, so I'm hoping that still.
We're still we're still, Megan is still trying to schedule that, so hopefully we'll figure it out.
Nancy's got her hand up.
Okay. Commissioners, anything else?
Yeah.
We,
Nancy.
yeah, we have now an additional public comment period, and Nancy Green has a comment.
Thanks. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. First of all, I wanted to say congratulations on that Crescent Beach project. I think that's going to be a great opportunity, particularly if you can document it and demonstrate to the public what good forestry management is. And I think that's of great concern to many property owners. And I think that would be a wonderful opportunity to connect with everybody. Also, I noticed that on the agenda, the documents were not attached online, and I was wondering if I had missed something. It was just the agenda, and you guys usually have the stewardship reports, I think, don't you? And all of that attached.
That's my bad, Nancy. I thought I attached the entire
Okay.
packet, and I clearly didn't. So thank you. I'll update that later today.
Okay, that'd be great. And I'm looking forward to meeting with everybody in July with the two organizations. So I'm glad to be starting that up again. And great job, you guys. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Nancy.
Yes, you too.
And I see another hand up. I'm sorry, I can't see your name.
Mark Johnson.
Oh, Mark Johnson.
Yeah, thank you. At the last meeting, there was discussion of a second aspect of the Dolphin Bay Road project involving a voluntary conservation easement on another property under the same ownership, I believe on Killebrew Lake Road. Is that still active? And if so, would that have a different timeline than the closing of the Dolphin Bay Road project?
Yes, that's still active, and we are going to move forward with that. It will happen after we get through with the Dolphin Bay Road project, but the seller is the seller of the shoreline property is the same owner of the property we're going to do the easement on. We continue to talk about it. We'll start moving forward on drafting an easement with him. I'm not sure when, this month, next month, something like that, but that's definitely still on our radar, and we're anticipating getting it done before the end of the year.
That's a nice addition as well. Thank you, Lincoln.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, well, if there are no further comments from commissioners or the public, my agenda says adjourn, but we're actually going to continue the meeting, the public meeting, to a field trip through most of the afternoon, and we will adjourn afterwards.
So if anyone's interested in going on the field trip, the first stop will be Coho Preserve. So that's where we'll be headed next.
Oh, and if I may, today happens to be the statewide crab molt blitz. So there is a portion of shoreline. I doubt it's a really great place for green crabs, but if anyone would care to participate on that, you can file it with the what's the app? Yes, on MindPost.
Is it on Locust then?
This is throughout the state. They're trying to do a snapshot of the entire state with as many areas as possible.
Right, but I thought you were referring to a particular location.
Well, since we will be on the shoreline, and it takes all of a few minutes.
Oh, I see.
It's very quick. But
Jim will lead us today, if he can still identify a green crab properly.
maybe.
Hope we don't find it.
Oh, I certainly hope we don't. They did find another in San Juan County. It was on San Juan Island on the west side, but not at Roach Harbor. So it's bad year for green crabs.
It was a new location. Last time it was West Side. On
year.
San Juan, yeah.
Yes.
Bad year for green crabs, is a
Well-
good year for us?
No, sorry, the green crabs population is increasing this year.
Good year for green crabs, bad year for us.
Yes.
Okay. Peter?
So just for folks that might be deciding whether to go on the trip now or not, so for Coho, it'll be, either a 10-minute walk to the bridge and back where you can look at the future acquisition, or you could continue up and around the loop, 3/4 mile loop. Up to you, and then, the Dolphin Bay property, it's about a 15-minute walk to the beach over mixed terrain, tall grass, and then back up.
We should look at the new plantings and the new steps at Coho.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice restoration job by Tyler primarily,
Yep.
right? Tyler and volunteers. Okay, let's go.
Where's lunch? Yeah. Where's the lunch?